Guys? The Bench Buddies are back with our MLB Power Rankings Week 22, and we have some movement inside of the top 5 and the top 10. So make sure you guys stay till the end of the video to see who's moving up and down there. But lots of baseball left to go. A wild card is heating up, and we're going to get into it here with the 30th ranked team. But before we do, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Get us to 200 subscribers. We'll be doing that autographed item giveaway. It could be more than one as well. Just stay tuned and get us there. Coming in at 30, we got the Washington Nationals, and nothing really happening here other than they've been the worst team in baseball for a majority of the year now that Soto's gone. But they did take a series on the road against the Mets, which is something to watch, because the Mets and Braves NL East race is heating up. And they're 27th in home run, beating a few other teams in home runs, having the second worst run differential. The Nats are already rebuilding and looking forward to next year, clean slate. 29th, we have the Pirates moving down one. They're 2-12 in their last 14. Pitching and hitting has just been non-existent in these last few months, and the pitching is, getting hurt as well. The rotation is getting hurt. Closers, relievers are getting hurt, so they're going to limp to the end of the season. So it's kind of a free, series win, at least if you're playing them. 28th, we have the Oakland A's, and this is probably the worst hitting team in baseball from what I've seen. Sean Murphy has been the only guy, consistent guy at least, on this team. Other than that, Cole Irvin, he's been very solid too this year. Could he be a piece for the future with his 3.35 ERA? And, they got 6 games this week against, playoff hopeful teams. 27th, we got my Detroit Tigers. Riley Green has just been excellent this year, defensively, offensively, hitting walk-off home runs, big home runs, triples, whatever. He's come through for the Tigers, but he'll be a piece for the future that we're going to love to see play in and day out. This Tigers team, they're last in the MLB with 80 home runs, and they're the only team with double digits for home runs. That's not good. Miggy, he's placed on the 10-day IL, but it's more than likely he's just done for the year with his left bicep. We know next year is going to be his last year, so you want to make sure he is healthy going into next year. 26th, we have the Cincinnati Reds. Their pitching is going to limp to game 162 as well. The Hunter Green, their ace, has been hurt, but he's looking like he might be on track to return this weekend or early next week. And, if you want to really discount this team, take 3 wins and 22 losses away from this team, and it's kind of a whole different ball club. Just because they started so miserable this year, we thought they were going to be one of the worst teams in baseball. 25th, we have the Miami Marlins. They are currently on a 7-game losing streak, so it's only right to at least drop them to their lowest ranking to date. So that will change to 25. Sandy Alcantara has been the only bright spot for this Marlins team. With that 2.36 ERA, 170 Ks, he's a favorite to win the NL Cy Young. Jazz Chisholm, nobody's heard from him yet. I think they're going to try him this week to ramp up some baseball activities, but at this point, this late, is it even worth it? Just because they're already almost out of it. The Royals move up one here, and this is their highest ranking to date, going back to their preseason ranking. The young core is coming back around, and, the Royals could be a tough series down the stretch, with all these AL Central teams fighting it out. I think this Royal team plays better now than their record shows. Zach Greinke's coming back as well tomorrow from the IL, but they got 5 divisional opponents left this week. 23, we have the Chicago Cubs. They're 1-7 in their last 8, so they're moving down as well. Pitching, you can read all that there. It's just been absolutely terrible. They're very inconsistent. But other than Ian Happ and Wilson Contreras, this whole team has been MIA this year. 22nd, we have the Colorado Rockies. And, they're a really good hitting team, terrible pitching team, last with 5.06 ERA this year in MLB. CJ Cronin and Iglesias have been really good for them. It looks like this week they're going to try to play some spoiler for some teams ahead of them. 21, we have the Rangers dropping some spots here, and they are on a 9-game losing streak. Yes. Martin Perez, he needs to get a win for him under there. He's been their only reliable starter this year. Nathaniel Lowe, though, has been excellent these last 30 days with 8 home runs and 22 RBIs and a 381 average. You can't beat that. Especially for the Rangers here, who have at least a consistent hot bat every month, and it has been a different player. But they got 5 games this week against 2 in Houston that might be 11-game losing streak, and then Boston, who's looking to, win every single game now because it matters for them because they are behind in the wild card race. 20th, we have the Angels moving up. Otani has been excellent, of course, breaking a new record almost every day. He is actually the first player in MLB history with 30 home runs and 10 wins in a season. Nothing new, another new record he will set. But other than him and Trout, now that Trout's healthy, this team has nothing to watch for. 19th, we have the Giants. And this team, you could have almost counted them out, but here they are right back in a 4-game winning streak currently. They're in the middle of MLB in almost every stat you can think of. And, they are 7.5 back for the final wild card spot. But hey, if you beat some teams here this week, go, I think, 7 games, go 5-2, pretty solid against some good teams. I think you really still have a shot. You just got to chip away at it. 18th, we got the Diamondbacks. They're 8 games back for that wild card. They're 9-2 in their last 11. And could they make a surprise run at it? Yes, but I don't think it's going to happen just because of all of those good NL teams ahead of them. But, Merrill Kelly, he's been great. Zach Gallen, he's been great. Jake McCarthy came out of nowhere this year. And, the young core is really stepping up for this Diamondbacks team as they've been excellent. 17th, we got the Boston Red Sox. They're 5-1 in their last 6, and they're 9 games back from a wild card spot. This team needs to turn it on right now if they're looking to make that push. They got 5 games on the road this week against the divisional opponents that are higher than them. They called up top prospect Tristan Cass, and he's pretty much going to be starting almost every day at first base for them just so they can get a good look at him. And, they did extend Enrique Hernandez to a 1-year deal to bring him back for next year. 16, we got the White Sox moving up 1. They're only 2 games back from Cleveland in the AL Central and 7.5 back in the last wild card spot. Tony La Russa's out indefinitely with a medical issue. So maybe they'll be playing for him here in these few weeks, and hopefully he can get back healthy before the season's over. Jose Abreu has been great. Dylan Cease has been great. And this is a big week for the Sox. They got 3 versus Minnesota, who's only 1 game ahead of them in the division. And there they are. Their 6-game losing streak turned into a 3-game sweep of San Francisco. Luis Ariz has been absolutely great. They're 1 game back from Cleveland, and they're 1 game ahead of Chicago in the standings. But Tyler Mayhill and Miguel Sano are out at least 2 weeks and possibly could be for the rest of the regular season. So that's something to monitor there for if you're a Twins fan. But they have a very tough week this week with, 3 in New York and 3 versus Cleveland. And we have the Guardians coming in at 14, staying here. They're struggling to take that huge lead in this division. They got up there to, I believe, 3.5, but just couldn't pull away any longer. It looks like it's going to come down to the last week. They only have a 1-game lead on Minnesota and 2 on Chicago. But I think the big story surrounding this team is Zach Plesac broke his hand by punching the mound after giving up a home run, and that just derails the starting pitching rotation. With him, Bieber, and McKenzie being excellent this year, losing one of those 3 is a tough blow, especially in this very close divisional race. 13th, we have the Orioles not moving anywhere. And this team, I think, could be moving up shortly if they have a good week this week. Gunnar Henderson, he's homered in his debut. And they're only 4.5 back for Toronto. You beat Toronto these next 2 games. It's instantly cutting it to 2.5. And boom, sweet Boston and Toronto just gets on a 5-game losing streak. You're almost in the playoffs, just depending on how the other teams do above you. 18 of the remaining 27 games. So 66% of those games are against teams in their division. So that's going to be huge going down the stretch if they can, essentially win these games against their division rivals. 12, we have the Brewers, and this team is falling apart very slowly. But hey, they're still here, hanging on. They're 7.5 back from the Cardinals and NL Central. Just a month ago, I believe they had a 3-game lead on the wild card spot. They're 2 games back from San Diego. I don't think they're going to get there, but you never know. This week they do have a fairly easy schedule against some lower ranked teams, so they could scrape by there. But it's going to be essentially on Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff to pitch great. They're going to have to, get wins in their starts and keep them in the games if they really want to, make a push for this postseason. 11th, we have those Padres who have that 2-game lead in the wild card spot on Milwaukee. But this team is also struggling as well. Soto, Josh Bell, Brandon Drury, and Josh Hader all got brought into the deadline to really elevate this team. But has it really done much? Yes and no. They've played really well, but nothing too exciting out there in San Diego. But 2 of those guys now have been technically struggling. Drury, he was hot to start, but he's cooled off, and now he's on the concussion list. Josh Hader got removed from his closer role, and who knows how that's going to go for them. But they got 3 games at home this weekend against the Dodgers, which would be an excellent series. Starting our top 10, we have the Phillies going down to 10 after a very bad week because they're 1-6 in their last 7. They hold the second wild card spot as well with a 2-game lead on Milwaukee. But last week they went from 9th to 20th regarding their ERA in pitching. I believe is at a 3.72. They added 0.18 to that, and now they're 20th. And if their pitching is gonna continue to struggle, and this team might find its way out of the playoffs real quick. 9th, we have the Blue Jays, and Bo Bichette is the name to think about right now. He had his game yesterday with 3 home runs, led them to a win. I think he went 6 for 10 on the day and had a career day for sure. So he is looking like he's getting hot at the right time to make these Blue Jays make the push for that wild card spot. They have that 4.5-game lead, and I think they are almost done running away with it there. It's just going to come down to if they can play well for these next few weeks to really keep that lead. With this they're a great hitting team, but it's the pitching that's going to hold them back. And if they can get Pearson, and he is a very good pitcher like we've seen him, top prospect, if he pitches how he is there, then this Blue Jays team could be, making a run in the World Series. 8, we have the Rays staying put. They're 12-3 in their last 15, and they are only, I believe, 5 games back from the Yankees, which is the biggest storyline, I believe, probably of the year that no one's talking about. This Tampa Bay Rays team, they just put the same product out there every year, and they're good every year. They haven't had Glasnow, haven't had Baez, haven't had Franco since however long. And if they get all 3 of those guys back before the playoffs start, then this is a wholly new Rays team with a lot of electricity around them. If all of those guys come back healthy, play how they're supposed to be, then I think this Rays could be a, dark horse team to really make a shot at running that World Series and leading the AL to maybe their first pennant. But the key question around them for the postseason is the hitting. How is their hitting going to fare against top-tier pitching? And personally, if it's a AL East opponent, I think they have the advantage just because they've seen them so much. But other than that, I would be scared if they face Houston or Seattle in the playoffs, just because they don't get to see them a lot, and their pitching is really well. 7, we do have those Mariners coming in here, 9-2 in their last 11 games. Luis Castillo and his starting pitching staff. I think this is what's going to be the big name if you're looking for Mariners fans going to, after next year, no matter what happens this year. You reach the postseason, and you got to thank Luis Castillo. He's been great ever since they dealt for him. The team ERA has gone down a little bit as well with a 3.49, which ranks 6th best in the MLB. They were one of the healthiest teams in the MLB, but they do have a tough series this weekend at home. The Braves coming into town, and it could be, a World Series preview if you really want to get into the hypotheticals. 6, we have the Yankees coasting to the playoffs, 9-9 in the last 18. The team ERA is, still pretty solid, but they're just barely getting by. They hold that 5-game lead on Tampa, and it's going to be a big series at home this week versus Tampa to see if they can hold that lead. But Andrew Benintendi, unfortunately, he is out for the year with a wrist injury. And then you have Harrison Bader, who got traded for Jordan Montgomery. And is he going to make his debut this September? All signs are pointing to a middle September return, so they can get him back just in time for the postseason. Now with Benintendi's injury, I think that's going to be, he's going to have the right to get some playing time. At 5, we have those Cardinals, obviously with a big lead on the Brewers. They're 18-5 in the last 23. Goldie is almost won the MVP at this point. And Jordan Montgomery, as I was mentioning, is looking like the steal of the deadline. He's had one bad start against the Braves, but other than that, he's been very, very good. And obviously, you got to talk about Albert Pujols as well. He's 5 home runs away from 700, and hopefully he gets there because I don't think he's coming back next year, even if he's at 699. But hopefully Pujols can get to 700, and it's a big achievement for a lot of guys. I think he's a few 1 or 2 away from A-Rod, from 4th on the list. So if he passes him, obviously first ballot Hall of Famer, and you got to give him credit. 4, we have the Mets dropping a spot here, and this is in part to the team that jumped in front of them. They only have a 1-game lead against the Braves in the NL East, even though they do have a fairly easy schedule this week on the road in Pittsburgh and Miami. It's just because they're 10-10 in their last 20, and this is not baseball you want to play when you're trying to pull away and win the division. Atlanta's doing what they're doing, getting hot at the right time and, playing excellent, while these Mets team are just hoping that they don't get past for that division. Now that Brett Beatty's out for the year with a thumb injury, that's just a big blow for them, as they thought he could be a piece heading into the postseason. But now he's out. And Max Scherzer, he exited his start early, but it shouldn't be nothing to worry about, is what I've read. Third, we have those Braves here, and it's because they're 20-5 in their last 10 or last 25. Sorry, and that's because that we saw Mets 10-10 in the last 20. Well, when you're 20-5 in the last 25, I feel like you're on a crash course to do some good things, and yeah, they are. They've cut all that big game lead back to one game, and it's going to come down to, I believe, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday series of the last week of baseball, where the Braves play at home against the Mets. So that's going to be a series that might decide who wins this NL East. At 2, we got the Houston Astros. Jordan has been an absolute beast this year. A great year for him for sure, even with injuries. JV, hopefully he gets back soon with his calf injury. September return looks likely. Brantley got announced that he's out for the year with his shoulder injury. So a big blow there for, postseason hopes, because he's a big postseason bat with lots of experience. And Christian Vasquez has gone fairly unnoticed since the deadline. He's hitting 340 in only 47 at bats, and he's doing excellent behind the plate as well for this Astros staff. And I think he could be, the missing piece that the Astros need at catcher in postseason play. And at 1, of course, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers, their 13th time here. And, they're almost going to clinch here. They could clinch next week, possibly. If you beat San Diego 3 times, the magic number just drops to 3. Then if you win 2, so if you go 5-0 this week and the Padres lose another game this week, boom, you're in. And more than likely it'll either happen at the end of this week or early next week when the Dodgers officially clinch the division. So that's going to be it for the video today. If you liked it, hit that like button down below. Comment where your favorite team ranked or who I got wrong and who should be where. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.